Earlier this week, we told you about the story of an Amherst man who was forced to surrender his 4 handguns after his pistol permit had been suspended on orders of the New York State Police. Police say they ordered the suspension because the man had been prescribed anti-anxiety medication. Now we're learning state police made a mistake and pointed an accusing finger at the wrong man. Erie County Clerk Chris Jacobs let us know about all of this, and he's joining us this morning on the WBEN Live Line. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
You were notified yesterday of state police that they made a mistake. Tell us more.
Yes, late yesterday, I received actually a message on my voicemail that they wanted to notify us that, they made a mistake. They had the wrong person, and that we should act accordingly as far as reinstating the rights of the individual. So we notified the Supreme Court Judge Bowler, who is actually the licensing entity. We are not the licensing entity, and I'm sure he will act first thing this morning. But I think that I can speak on behalf of the judge, feel terribly about this and what this individual has gone through. We depend on our state police and the Division of Criminal Justice to do their job, and they just did not do it here. They made a huge mistake, and it really also just shows, I believe, that there's some serious flaws in this law as it was thought through in terms of this mental health provision, the reporting requirements, and how that is verified. And I think that I'm really concerned and talking to other clerks around the state that this is happening elsewhere. And I think it's going to continue to happen unless our leadership in Albany go back to the drawing board, talk with practitioners before they pass a piece of legislation in terms of the mental health field, and get this thing right, because this is something that just cannot happen again. This time it happened where individuals are deprived of their rights to own firearms, to have firearms rather. It could be the reverse, too, that an individual who should have firearms suspended are not because of the flaws in the process that was devised here in a couple days, overnight, ran through in Albany. So that's really, I think, the core problem. But we are today looking terribly at all levels of government on this one. But it really does rest with poor due diligence, poor investigative role here from the state police and Division of Criminal Justice. And
a lot of people have a red face this morning, looking pretty foolish.
Absolutely. And so I think, we have to, state police and Division of Criminal Justice, have to talk to one another better, have to do real investigative work before they send something down to us, because we do not have that investigative role. And clearly the governor, when he passed this law, he said there would be no additional burden to local government. Well, if it was ever our role or the judge's role to do this sort of investigation, I mean, we couldn't even check. We don't have the right to check the mental health records of somebody. So they have to do their job, but I think more so Albany needs to go back and really pass a thoughtful piece of legislation if they want to do something regarding the mental health provisions and Second Amendment.
Chris, this story hit gun owners like a buzzsaw this week. I mean, who feared that privacy laws were being violated here. But you're saying that that can't happen from here on out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is kind of the worst nightmare. I mean, people accuse their advocates of the Second Amendment of being conspiracy theorists and fear mongers. But this is the worst nightmare, that somebody was told they had to give up their firearms, and they were not provided due process. And more so, it looks to me like the state really did not do any investigative work on this. So they just sent it down to local governments and told them to do something. And now, our faith in our partner in government is really shaken, and that is not a good recipe for well-functioning partnership. And we act as an agent for the state on this one. This is we essentially have a contract where we do this for the state. So if we don't trust the information we're getting, there is a real breakdown.
It's almost hard to believe that the state troopers made this kind of a mistake. But I guess things like that happen. But if this happened here, you wonder, has it happened anywhere else across the state?
And I would just say that the state police takes, in my understanding of how this works, state police definitely has responsibility here. the Division of Criminal Justice is the one that's charged with doing the investigative homework on this, and they then send it over, I guess, to state police. There's many stages here, from the person reporting, the individual's doctor or psychiatrist, or to an individual with a mental health area in the state, then to criminal justice. There's an alphabet soup of all these people that are charged with this, and it really seems like no one takes full ownership of making a decision, and then they send it down to us. And what it really shows is this thing was written, I believe, with no outreach to any of these partnering entities on how this would really work. And you've heard the mental health professionals speak out against this provision. You see, the VA said we're not going to be any part of this because of concerns about this. So, again, when you write a piece of legislation in a vacuum without having hearings, without talking to people how it's going to really work and be implemented in the real world, without jeopardizing people's rights and putting an individual like this through a nightmare experience and infringe on their rights, you have to go back to the drawing board. And I encourage the legislative leadership here and most of our governor to take a step back, say we didn't get it right, and let's change this.
Chris, we appreciate the time this morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Erie County Clerk Chris Jacobs.